Excuse me. Woo. If you're new to the broadcast, let me just explain how we do this. The first thing is that we start the broadcast with a little bit of news and updates on our viewers. We're a big extended family, so we like to keep everybody informed as to what's going on. And if you're watching this on the replay, you'll be able to pick that up easily because in the notes below, it'll show from 00 to a certain time. News and views and updates, and then it'll say, from this time on, the actual topic. The topic today is layers. I wanted to discuss with you how layers of grief, how layers of sadness, how layers of anything, build up and then really have a big effect on your life. And I'll be doing a separate one about this. Hi, Kerry. I'll be doing a separate one about this later tonight when I do the 7 o'clock Pacific time broadcast, because I have another case study. Funnily enough, 2 came in the same week, and they both have to do with layers. So I guess everybody needs to know a bit about layering stuff in your life. All right, so that's what we're going to be doing. I just need a second to get some screens done. Hi, Pat. Are you vacationing? Hi, Jody. Pat, are you on? You camping or? Hang on, just trying to get my screens ready here. Hi, Trina. Good to see you. Wow. Not this weekend. Boy, it's so hot here, and there is no wind. I am absolutely struggling with it. Hang on a second. I'm absolutely sweltering here. All right, just so that people who are not regular viewers, the reason for the boxes, I'm in the middle of downsizing. And this is an ongoing process with me, and I'll be talking a bit more about that in a second. But that's why you see the boxes. Now, I'm thinking I should just really move the boxes out of the line of sight, but that's part of my life at the moment. So there we are. Pat, we're delighted you can be here. It's always a pleasure to have you in and have your input on stuff. I'm going to actually be splitting you guys into 2 different groups today. So hopefully you will enjoy that for a process. For thoughts and prayers, continued thoughts and prayers for Erin. She's getting there slowly. And I'm happy to say that, that the numbers are doing better for her than they were. Hi, Charlotte. Good to see you, honey. I also wanted to give thoughts and prayers. Jody has a friend who is not doing well at all. And so really, we can only pray for the best for her and for great strength for Jody, because there's nothing worse than having a friend or a family member and who's not well. And Bill and Pat know that. Pat, is it Bill's birthday? Just while I think about it, is it Bill's birthday tomorrow, Saturday, or is it? I always get it wrong. Hi, Beth. I've got for some reason I've got birth dates, and I know that you've told me before the 12th. Okay, fine. So it is Sunday. I know I got both Saturday and Sunday. So obviously at one point the Saturday was to remind me to do the graphic for Sunday. I missed a couple of birthdays this week. Hi there. Good to see you, Carrie. All right. So also Nana has a family member who is struggling as well. So, our thoughts and prayers go out. Yeah, Trina's saying that her aunt has put in an offer on a little 2-bedroom bungalow. You can tell when you go into something whether this has got your name on it. I want to tell you that it's funny. I found one place that had my name on it, and then I found an even smaller place that had my name on it. Yes, Kerry has not been feeling well. Are you still? I want to say upchucking, but talking to the big white telephone. Because if you are, I think you should get to a doctor because that's not good. Oh, is that right? It's Lolo's husband's birthday today, Baba's? Okay, so Jody, please leave a note for me on that one, if you will, because for some reason I don't have that in the big calendar. Wow. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Which daughter? I've got a big black crow on my balcony. Is that a good thing? Well, Kerry, I think that you really should get some help. Um, you know something? I'm something, Pat. I know this sounds really weird, but I am so glad she's living in this generation where police listen to physical assault issues. I keep thinking that, in my generation, this was like almost a husband's right to be able to beat his wife. You know what I mean? So today, I'm so glad that she lives in a time when police are forced to listen to that. That is very scary. Um, is she married? And by the way, I have to say to everybody um, two things. Number one, anybody who assaults you does not love you. All right. And I just need to tell you that. And now we're hearing that this person is mentally ill, so that he can't be charged. Um, Pat, do what you have to do to get him out of her way. I mean, even if you have to move her, do you know what I mean? To another town, to another province, to whatever. Get her out of his line of sight. If you can't remove him, then remove her. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm sure you have, honey. So a big hug to you. Um, a big hug to you. That's horrible stuff to be dealing with. All right. And poor, little do we know, right? By the way, for those of you for those of you who are watching for the first time, you probably can see on the replay that the YouTube screen has a little bell on it in the top right-hand corner near my face. If you click on there, it will tell you every time I'm about to go live, if that's something you would like. And also the other thing is, please remember to follow us on Facebook at DearMamaSal. And on Twitter. The reason for that is I sort of use Facebook as my general update during the week when I'm not doing the broadcast. If I find something that is, I think, something that people are going to want to know about, news about one of the viewers, I will put it in there. Pat, she's a magnet for losers. How many of you can raise your hand and say, I was a magnet for loser as well? Yeah. She needs help. If she attracts losers, she is the one that needs help. Because she probably thinks she is helping them. It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, but I keep thinking about this, Pat, and I go, I'm pretty certain none of us thought O.J. Simpson hit his wife either. You know what I mean? Good. I'm glad she's getting it. And make sure that you fill her life with positive stuff. Well, Erin, it's great to see you here, and thank you. Erin, I'm going to be talking your issue tonight, just so that you know. Erin gave me permission, and today we're going to be talking on something that I prefer Steve sent in to me, and I have the permission from both of them to use their names, so that makes it really interesting. on the terms of news, I heard from Ozzy. I heard from Ozzy this week. He's in a really interesting place. He's divesting himself of everything again, and I think going on walkabout again. So whenever he starts divesting himself of everything, I'm pretty sure he's about to go on walkabout. So just so that you know, we hopefully will get some news from around the world from him again. Hi, Linda. Good to see you. I think it's really important. It took me a long time to stop having losers. I two things. I either got attracted to losers or abusers, and they're not necessarily. Well, I suppose they're both the same thing, aren't they? Anybody who abuses somebody else is a loser. But you know, what I found. What I find though is that people get attracted to either being St. Joan of Arc, you know what I mean, going in to save somebody, or they think they can change the person. Now, me, I always thought that if I loved them enough, I could change them. Well, I was so wrong. All I did was change me and not for the better. So I'm going to be talking a bit more about that tonight. By the way, for those of you who are going to be here for the evening broadcast, and Beth, I'm wondering whether you will be here for the evening broadcast. There's a reason why, because I want to discuss a certain subject, and good. I want to, I want to talk about something, and I know that you've got experience in it. So, therefore, I would really, yeah, you think you're off work, right? I'd really like you to be giving your input on your side, because I think it's an important one. All right. So, Jody, I'm putting you on the spot here, but anything creative this week, Jody? I have done nothing creative this week. I just want to tell you that, just in terms of taking, we have this segment here where we take a step forward. And one of the things that we know is if you get creative during the week, that it helps balance you out. And I've been a really bad person because I say bad person. I have not had my life in balance. That's what I've got to say, because I did nothing creative this week. And so I just wondered, Jody, did you get the pencils out and do anything? And is there anybody else here that was trying to take a step forward? Trina, I know, was busy doing stuff. Linda, you were busy with your eBay stuff. How's that going? Yes, life got in the way, Jody, right? You had that air conditioning issue. Yes, Pat. Good. Pat's being creative in between the craziness. That shows balance. Hi, Amy. Good to see you here. So I am definitely going to get some creativity back in my life. Well, that's true. Linda's saying that since her new to her puppy, Lucky. By the way, how old do we think Lucky is? Since and he is so beautiful. He's a black and white border collie, and he is just so cute. Yeah, Beth's saying she was creative with making meals. Yes, I think anything that uses that creative part, even funny enough, Beth, going, okay, have I got enough colors in here? That is creative stuff. So very, very important. And you do a great job, by the way, of sorting out new recipes, and because it brings out endorphins. You know what I mean? You feel good. You go, oh, that looks good. I got to try that, right? You think he's 2 to 3 years? Okay, so but he's got major issues with men, obviously, right? And she's saying that when she takes him to the vet, 3 vets couldn't get near him. I totally understand that. But they will be able to. They'll find ways to do it. Well, Trina's saying she put on weight this week. Trina, I want to tell you, I am at the heaviest I have ever remember being in my life. All that weight I took off last year, I have just suddenly put it all back on again. And I know I've got 1,001 reasons why, but it's not very controlled. I really have decided I need to get my life back under control. And not have I know I've got plenty of excuses for it, but that's not good enough. I need to get my life back under control. Only I can do it. Life gets in the way big time, yes, and so do the excuses. And I'm smarter than that. I know that's not, that's not going to change my weight. What's going to change my weight is I get outside the door and go take a walk. Or go up and down the stairs with boxes of downsizing. You know what I mean? I'm fed up with the excuses I give myself. So that's it. All right. So Jody, we've got a time check here. When's her anniversary? Trina's anniversary? I missed that. Oh, she went out for her 21st wedding anniversary. Yes. Happy anniversary. If you give us the date, we'll try and get it on our calendar. And Linda's saying, I can't have excuses anymore because my little DearMamaSal is sitting on my shoulder going, hello. I need a big one with a 2x4 over my head at the moment. It was on the 7th of August. Okay, I'm certain Jody will take a note of that for us. And we'll and make sure I get it into the calendar. Wow. Now, if I were really smart. Yeah, never mind. Okay, so time check for 16. Let's make it 17 would be about the time. We're going to be doing a case study that Kerry sent in. And I want you all to know that this may affect some of you emotionally. So just, have a heads up here to keep yourself under control. And what I'd like to do, and I want to start doing this, I want to split you into two groups. Those that can see the negative of things. I need a couple of you in that area. And then those of you who will refuse to see the negative and just work on the positive. Now, Jody, you need to be in the second one, right? Because, if there's anybody that always has a good slant on it, it's Jody. But I do need a couple of people who've got a bit of time, to can see out the whole broadcast, that can see the negative, because it's very important for what I want to do. And then, somewhere we'll try and get to the middle. Does that make sense? I want to see the negative, I want to see the positive, and then I want some people to help us see down. Oh, thank you. Pat's going to be a negative Nancy for me. Okay, so we'll call it then that. The negative Nancys, I need at least a couple, because I need some heavy input on that. Because I want, Trina's going to help as well. Okay, fine. Thank you, Trina. This is not that you're normally like that. I just need you to play that part, all right? And just because I want... Yeah, exactly. I want Kerry to be able to see that some people can see positives and some people can see negatives, and and I want you all, if you relate, to let her know that she's not alone in this. All right, really important. And by the way, for those of you who like to learn by doing, this is why I do these workshops. But you may want to grab a piece of paper and a pencil in case you want to write down a note, because something may come up and you're going, wow, I need to remember that. So just give you a heads up on that one. And for those of you who may have a case study of your own that you want to share with us, please send it to me at dearmamasal@gmail.com. And if I believe it's something that the viewers will learn from, then I will use it. By the way, I will only use your name if you give me permission to. And that's really important. The same way as for those of you who are new to the broadcast, the chat that you will see in the live broadcast gets removed within about 5-10 minutes of the broadcast finishing. Because I have to go in there and tweak a few things. But one of the things I tweak is I take out the live chat. So whatever you say in the live chat will not be there after about 5 or 10 minutes of the broadcast being stopped. So on the replay, for most people, it won't be there. All right, so here we go. What I heard, and I just want to get this email up. All right, there we go. This came in from Kerry, and some of you know her as I Prefer Steve. And I read this and I went, wow, this is such a sad thing to read. And I do want to warn those of you who have emotional issues to be aware this is a sad story. And so you need to keep control. All right, so here we go. Yes, not that Kerry. It's a different Kerry it's somebody called I Prefer Steve, who was a viewer way back, Aaron, in the days, long time ago. I think even Blog TV days, maybe. But Kerry's been around. She's had a really tough time. So I'm going to read her email to you because she gave me permission. It says, "Hi, MamaSal. I know it's been forever. It's so weird that you popped into my mind. And when I went to see if you still had a channel, you were streaming live right then." So how many of you go, there are no coincidences? How many of you agree with that? That here she was, wanted some help, wondered if I was still doing what I was doing, wondered if I still had a channel, and at that very moment, I was streaming live. How many of you believe that is a coincidence? You see, I've always said, Kerry, that my job is to be here, right? and I don't have to go looking for people. People will find me when they need me. Even if they don't know about me, they will find me. And I really have always believed that. As some of you know, I've never sort of done big things for the numbers. I've done it because I believe that there are people out there who need help. And every now and then, they will find their way. If you all think about how you found your way to this channel, it's interesting to me. All right, so here I'm going to continue now, and I quote, "A ton has been happening in my life. I'm still living in, and I'm not going to say where, I have a new job and I'm working the graveyard shift. Back in August last year, I lost my best friend to cancer. At the end of April this year, I lost my mom. I found her in her apartment. She was a really bad alcoholic, and I pretty much was her caretaker. I loved her so much, and I had so much hope for her. She was an amazing person. I just wish that she saw that. That part of my story is very long and involved, so I'll spare you that right now. But it has a lot to do with why I am the way I am, so I'm always open to talk about it. Anyway, it's been quite a ride, to say the least. Grief is a very lonely road, even when you know many others have gone through it. I've just been trying to take things one day at a time. I'm trying to be patient with myself and let myself grieve and heal. On top of that, I have depression and anxiety, and I have always felt like a burden to people. I just don't have a lot of love for myself. And when you need people the most, like I do right now, that's not a very good combo. Anyway, I should be asleep right now. I have work tonight. I'm an open book, and I'm fine with you talking about anything if you think it will benefit other people who may be dealing with similar situations. I don't know about you guys, but I could relate to a lot of that. I could, the reason I wanted you to hear this story is not just because it's so sad, um, but because of all the layers. So can you all see the layers in this? This isn't any one thing that's going on in her life. This is a series of layers. So for those of you who can see negative things, well, did you take any notes, or do you want me to read it again so you can take notes on where the negative things are? Because I want to discuss those. Yes, we all send Carrie. Actually, I'm just going to call you I Prefer Steve so we don't get you muddled up on the replay with R. Kerry. And I say R. Kerry, but, you know, the one with the two. So I would like those people who can see the negative easily to really identify the layers. And if you would like me to reread it more quickly, I will do so. And then those people who are the positive people, I would like you to listen to it again and then write down anything you hear that is positive. If you can, if you can see anything that's positive, write it down. So I'm going to read it again. Hi, Mama Sal. I know it's been forever. It's so weird that you popped into my mind when I went to see if you still had a channel, and you were streaming live right then. A ton has been happening in my life, and I'm still living in... Excuse me, I have a new job, and I'm working graveyard shift. Back in August last year, I lost my best friend to cancer. At the end of April this year, I lost my mom. I found her in her apartment. She was a really bad alcoholic, and I was pretty much her caretaker. I loved her so much, and I had so much hope for her. She was an amazing person. I wish she saw that. That part of my story is very long and involved, so I'll spare you that right now. But it has to do with why I am the way I am today. So I'm always open to talk about it. Anyway, it's been quite a ride, to say the least. Grief is a very lonely road when you know many others have gone through it. Even when you know many others have gone through it. It's just, I've been trying to take things one day at a time, trying to be patient with myself and let myself grieve and heal. On top of that, I have depression and anxiety, and I have always felt like a burden to people. I just don't have a lot of love for myself. And when you need people the most, like I do right now, that's not a good combo. Anyway, I should be asleep right now. I have work tonight, but I'm an open book. I'm fine talking about anything if you think it will benefit other people and who may be dealing with similar situations. I'm talking about this because I'm hoping we can help you. The reason I'm talking about this is because I really genuinely hope we can help you. Yes, Pat. Thank you, Pat. Pat's saying it sounds like she's writing a chapter of my life. I could, something. I Prefer Steve. You were writing a couple of chapters of mine as well. So that maybe is the first question. How many of you could relate to any of this? How many of you have been through any of this, any one of these layers? And there were so many. And Pat saying it's so similar, it's crazy, scary. Yeah. Erin saying, yes, I definitely relate to a lot. But it's good that she's willing to talk about it and that she knows she needs help. Yes, Jody says the same thing. So yeah, you see, you think you're the only screwed up one in the world, Steve. I'm going to call you Steve for now, even though we know you're a woman. Yes, Beth can see triggers now. Well done, Beth. You've come a long way, Beth. You can see the triggers, right? And we'll talk about that. Okay, so I Prefer Steve. The overall, I don't know about the rest of you, but overall, and I still have tears in my eyes, it's a very sad story. So good. And as I thought, Jody can see so many positives. So we're going to get to that. So let's hear the negatives. What do you hear in this story? And there are layers of them, right? It's not just one. It's like, boy, they're stacked up one on top of the other. And the reason I want you to see this clearly is because most people can handle one. Depending on your mental health, most people can probably even manage two of them. But when you've got layer upon layer upon layer, you have to be an incredibly mentally healthy person. And when I say mentally healthy, that you can dig your way out. One of the most difficult. I've been there, by the way, just so everybody knows, um, that it's very difficult to dig yourself out. You need help, and the reason you need help is because if you don't get out of the house and go and talk to somebody, you are going to be in bigger trouble. You need to get this out of your day-to-day thinking. Right. Beth sees that she has no love for herself, which makes things 10 times worse. But she does it. Yeah, it's pretty much impossible to dig yourself out. Exactly. And we know you deserve to do that. Now, what I heard, and she and I have been communicating a little bit. I've heard more to this story. And how many of you relate to the fact that although intellectually she understands she needs to get out and go and get some help, she doesn't trust people anymore? You know what I mean? She's scared of people. How many of you relate to that one? She's scared to go out and interact with people. Yes, Amy can relate to that. So let's go through what's going on here. All right. First of all, the stressors. Do you understand different events cause different stress levels? And the first one is a new job is a stressor. Working a graveyard shift means that you are out of sync with the rest of the world. All right. Funny enough, that's another stressor. You lost your best friend, major stressor, but you lost her to, I believe it's a she, you lost her to cancer, major stressor. All right. I lost my mum. That is on the top 5 of the stress scale. You found her in her apartment. That is another one. All right. The trauma of finding your mother dead is horrible. The fact that she was an bad alcoholic sets up a lot of other issues for you. Yeah, I totally understand why that was the worst part. I mean, to walk in and find somebody you love dead is not a pleasant thing. I mean, and I don't know how to say that other than, that's a really traumatic thing to have happen. Even though you probably expected it, from what you've said about her, however much you loved her, right? She couldn't cope with life. The only way she could cope was through a bottle. Yeah, and knowing you couldn't change her. Yeah. To know that you couldn't, as much as you wanted to help her, to find out the reality, which you cannot help somebody who doesn't want to be helped. It's so difficult. Right. So what I want you to see, Steve, is that you have a lot of people in this room, who can relate and who I want to tell you will do their level best to hold your hand through this. Now, for those of you who've seen all the negatives, Jody, let's hear some of those positives. because I need you to see, Steve, that you are not out of control, right? You actually have part of you that's very much in control. I don't know if you realize that. So, yeah, of course you feel like you're losing your mind. All right. So, do you understand what happens when you go into? I'm not a doctor, but what I need you to know is what happened to me. When I went into depression, there are different levels of depression. And so, but after a while, your chemical balance changes, Steve. I want you to understand this. And once you've got to the stage where your chemical balance changes, it's very difficult for you to get out of that without some medication. All right? Because what they've got to do is because what you're missing is some of the chemicals that make you able to cope. And it doesn't make you a weak person that you need to take them. The point is that you need to take them so that you can start thinking rationally again, right? Because you've had so much negativity. Yes, I'm going to just read for people listening to this on the replay. Jody's saying, let's start from the very beginning. It took tremendous courage to reach out for help and to share this very personal story. And it is evident from the time of your letter that you are a survivor. Steve, let me ask you something, honey. If you broke your leg, would you put a cast on it? Would you say to the doctors, I don't want to be a weakling, I don't want a cast? I really want you to think hard about this. You would put a cast on it. Why, Steve? I want to understand, why would you put a cast on a broken leg? It won't heal correctly without it. Exactly. Now, you got two schools of thought here. There are people that are saying you don't have to go on meds, and other people saying the meds will get you back to where you can cope at a different level again. So it is not for any of us to tell you what to do. I want to tell you, I fought going on medication tooth and nail. I fought it so hard that it's not even funny. Um, but I realized eventually that I had made a mistake in that, because all I kept doing was going farther down. And of course, it took longer to get me out. Right. And Jody's saying, going through all of this trauma, you have been able to hold down employment. That's tremendous. All right. Except, I got to ask this question here. Do you feel like you live the lie when you go to work? You pretend to be okay? Because that's what I did. I kept pretending everything was fine. And I kept pretending and pretending and pretending. And the joke was on me, because everything wasn't fine. I was severely depressed. Yes, and Pat's saying, even if you do decide to go to a doctor and talk about this, um, if you don't want to take medication, go to your doctor. Which country are you in, Steve? Okay, you're in the US and you have a health plan, I hope. Uh, there's some of us, we got two groups of people in the room um, at the moment. Some of us didn't want to take the drugs and ended up having to be forced to. When I say having to be forced to, I chose to take them. I realized however smart I thought I wasn't smart enough to dig my way out without them. But I have also found that once I was out, I worked really hard to work at why I went in. And now I really understand the triggers a lot better. And I see them coming a lot more easily, Steve. So it requires two things. If you can think of it this way, if you can think of the medication like the cast on the broken leg, but that's there just so that you can function. And so it's really important, if you don't have a good support group of people around you, that you do need to get into some sort of therapy. And I would go to your doctor and talk very openly to your doctor about what's going on. Yes, I want to tell you something, Trina, that what happens when you go on those meds is that they take out the highs and they take out the lows, right? I thought they just took out the lows, but they also take out the highs. So you end up feeling a little bit like, really? And that's what I found. And I remember going to my doctor and saying, "What did you do to my life? These pills, I seem to be in this little, my life used to do this, and now I'm in this sort of very boring feeling." But he said, it's only until you can get into there. Yes, grief counseling, as I would say it's really important, Beth, that we say that she has a choice. I don't think, quite honestly, I don't think that Steve would be talking to us if grief counseling was working for her, because I believe she said, am I right there, Steve, that you did try to do some of this? I suggested she even go to Al-Anon, but you need to go every day. But what happened was that she was telling me that she had been, but she felt uncomfortable amongst the people. The whole thing about dealing with what's going on is it's going to be uncomfortable. Yes, you're in counseling for depression, not for grief. So this is why I'm saying that if you've got layers of things going on, you may actually need layers of counseling. Do you know what I mean? Maybe make a point of going, okay, once a week, I'm going to go to an Al-Anon meeting and just listen to other people are going through this and understand that talking about it is a good thing to do. Maybe once a week you go for your counseling for depression. How often do you go, Steve? I'd like to suggest, once a week. Did you stop it? Did you choose to stop going? So not over these current issues. Ah, okay. So how about we give you a bit of a challenge here? Because we know you want to help yourself. Um, all right. Anybody in the States that's listening to this and has been to grief counseling, how did you find it? When you found grief counseling, did you Google it? Did you say grief counseling in my area? Or did you find it through your church? Did you find it through your doctor? How did you find grief counseling? So we want to give Steve a couple of hints on how to do this. So the challenge this week, Yes, that's another layer of, that will help you climb out. All right. What Trina's suggesting. Are you journaling at all? Okay. So two things, Trina. Jody found grief counseling through her doctor. Beth said she found it through the funeral home stuff. Now, the other thing I wanted to ask you is, do you know about cognitive therapy? Don't be sorry, Trina. This is exactly what we want, because we want people who absolutely relate to the negative side, and I need people who can see that she has already shown some incredibly courageous things that she's doing. So first of all, Steve, you understand what you're going through is normal. Do you understand that? This is perfectly normal for somebody who's going through, excuse my language, the brown sticky stuff that you're going through. The difference is most people don't do it without help. So you are being, if you like, almost a martyr here. Do you understand what I'm saying, Steve? That if you're not getting grief counseling, if you are not getting um, any other sort of group therapy to go with it, then you are really part of the problem now. All right. And you know that at some level, you must know that. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. So I'm sending you a big hug and I'm giving you a big round of applause, because writing to me was a majorly important step. And I can only tell you how honored I am that you remembered, because this is the very reason I started to do this. I I have said so many times that the most important thing is that people know that even if they don't need any help now, they may, and they'll know where to come back to, because they know we'll be here, and they will know that we will help. Um, and so, you know, I need you to know it's people like you that make what I do valuable to me. It's the very reason I started this, and I thank you for trusting us. This is not easy stuff. And for those of you who are listening, I am not a therapist, I am not a doctor. Um, what we try to do is hold people's hands as they take one step at a time towards whatever they want to do. So, Steve, let me ask you a couple of questions here. Do you think that you could check into grief counseling this week? Do you think that's something that you might be able to do? Or do you want to go and talk to your doctor about it this week? Which one? Okay. Because do you understand, if you can come back next week and say, hey guys, I checked into grief counseling. Okay. Good idea. Because you deserve that work. All right. And here's what I need you to understand, Steve. I need you to get this really clear, that everybody that's in that room for grief counseling knows what you are feeling at some level. Anybody in this room that's been through any major loss knows what you are feeling. Right? You are not a weirdo. You need to know this. Um, You were saying to me that you don't get on well with people. Well, of course you don't. How many of you can remember that? How many of you can remember that when you were going through a difficult time, you didn't get on well with people? Well, that's because you are the exception. There's a good reason why you feel that. You are the exception. You don't think like regular people. And when you get a little bit further along this road, Steve, we'll talk a bit more about that. But I'd like to tell you something. Oh, you're talking to an expert at that one. How many of you in this room know that one? How many of you know how to push people away? By the way, Steve, how do you do it? How do you push them away? Because everybody here that understand, yeah, Amy, how do you push people away? Let's give us some new ideas if she hasn't thought of them yet. Yeah, Kerry. So Kerry from Kansas pushes people away. I'm really good at it. Yeah, Amy, just to let you know that they have censored that because of the one word you used in there. But Amy's saying that she behaves like she's stupid and just generally upsets people. You beg them to leave. Really? That's okay, Amy. I just, I want to keep this so that I don't get banned out of YouTube. So what I love is that the filter automatically stops it. Okay, so let's get real here, Steve, because that's important to me. So do you want to have people in your life? Or do you want to live a lonely, sad existence? Wow. Boy, do any of you relate to this one? I tell them that they will eventually get tired of carrying me around, so they should leave now. Wouldn't you like to stop being the burden? Well, you know something? There are a lot of people in this room that relate to that. Amy's got it with bells on. Okay. Good. Then here's a book I want you to get. It's a very old book. Is that okay? You can probably get it for free online. Just look for a PDF of it. And that's How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Anybody read it? Okay. Has anybody ever read the book? You only read it because you had to. Now, if you had to, you probably didn't take it in. So here's what I'd like you to do, right? Is I'd like you to start reading it again and journal what your mind is telling you about that. Now, here's what I found, Steve. I talked to you about cognitive therapy. It's a really interesting thing. So it's almost like having two different people, like the negative and the positive. No, you didn't get anything out of it because you didn't want to. Right? You understand that. If somebody says to you, "You've got to read this," then you won't. But if you want to read it, then you will get and I want to learn from this, then you will get stuff out of it. So the chances are that you were, you just didn't really read it. You just flicked some pages and went, this is a load of, and throw it aside. What I would recommend is that you just read one page and then journal what that one page brings out for you. Does that make sense, Steve? Yeah, I can see you doing it, honey. That's a load of, or let me just quickly skip it. So I said I could read it. Yep. Okay, fine, done it. No, that's not how to read something that you want to have impact on you. You see, let me tell you why it upsets you. Can I tell you why it upsets you? You're not going to like the answer, so think hard before you say yes. Hi, Alan. Good to see you. We are discussing layers of grief and things. We're doing a case study here, so just hang on here. Okay, so let's get back and concentrate on what's happening. I'm certain Ireland knows that everybody wants to say hello. Okay, so the reason that it will upset you is because you will not think it is relevant. All right. He will say, for example, it's a good idea to compliment people. I'm just thinking, I will need to get the book out again and walk through it in some ways. And what you will read is you go, I don't have any people in my life, so how do I compliment them? Yeah, that's useless. Well, what I want you to journal is, why don't I have people in my life? Because I'm telling them to go away. Do you see how controlling that is? When you are telling people how to feel about you, that is very controlling. I'm telling you, go away because I'm just going to be a burden and you won't be able to cope, is what you're telling them. So, get out of my life. That's very controlling. I would suggest that the better wording is, I have no idea why you love me, but I'm so glad you do. I say that to my friends quite a bit. Do any of you relate to that? Just sort of like, I have absolutely no idea why you've been hanging around for this length of time, but I'm so glad that you do. Yes, and Ireland, I so understand this business about pushing people away. And so to me, the work that I'm suggesting, Steve, is that what if you just find the PDF? Okay, that's another assignment for this week. And then what I'd like you to do is to read a couple of pages. That's all right, in a week, right? Just a couple of pages and journal it, and then come and tell us what upset you about it. Right? Because you need to know that, right? And that's the cognitive therapy. This paragraph right here, I just really didn't like it at all, and it made me mad because how dare they think that I've even got friends, write all that down and then laugh at yourself and go, okay, so let me ask myself that question. Why don't I have friends to say nice things to? Because I keep pushing them away. And I do that because I don't think that they're going to like me very long. If you can see where that is arrogant, then you are a long way to being healthy. Yes, Erin, I want to tell you something. I think that is so honest, right? Erin's saying, I always say that to people. I don't know why you've lasted this long with me, but I'm glad you have, right? How many of you feel that? How many of you feel there have been times when you've been a real burden on your friends? Now, Steve, what we're going to do is when you come to visit us, all right, if you choose to, we're going to have a little victim and victor session. Do you know what that is? because we've got people in the room that can play this game with us. You can, are you smiling? Are you smiling? Little bit. Just a tad. It's like poor Beth. I love you, Steve. It's like poor Beth, it took me the longest time to get Beth to understand that she wasn't a victim and she was choosing to do these things in life, right? Beth, how many times did I have to knock you over the head with that 2x4? So what I want you to see is that you need on one shoulder to have the victim because it's there, but on the other shoulder, you need the victor. Now, the victor sees the positive, right? It's the Jody in your life. Do you understand that? So do you want me to do a little bit of work on it for you so you can get it? Because if you can journal this, you're going to be so much. Right. Okay. So let me go back. So, for example, if I said, back in August last year, I lost my best friend to cancer. Okay, so I'm going to get the people who understand negative feelings. And what do you say? And Jody, I want you to think of a positive on that one so that we can show Steve how to work this. All right, so let's have the negatives about losing your best friend anyway, never mind to cancer. What are the feelings, the negative feelings that come up with losing your best friend? I lost mine at 18, by the way, Steve. And she was killed in a car accident because they couldn't get her out of her seatbelt. And I was the one who put the seatbelt on her. So I understand about losing your best friend. And it's horrible. Yes, Kerry's saying, how dare you die? Did you feel any of that, Steve? How can you do that to me and leave me on my own? Especially, when I don't have a strong support system, right? You were my friend and you left me on my own. Yes, I was extremely angry, not at her, but at God. How many of you relate to that one? And I don't know about you, Steve, but it didn't matter how many people said to me, "Oh, she's in a better place," or da da da. I'm going, yeah, but what about me? What about me? So I understand about being angry at God. But the good news is you believe in God, right, Jody? You see, the good news is you must be a good friend because you had one. So why didn't you push your best friend away? Let me ask that one. What made her, I think it was her, right? What made her trustworthy? So unconditional love. She forgave you for being. You forget. She just didn't listen to you. I had a dog like that once. Actually, I lie. I had a very frightened dog, like Linda's very frightened dog, and it would attack males. if they tried to hug them or get near them, because it had been beaten by a man. And the interesting thing was that he ran into Yvonne's son, Cody. And Yvonne's son, Cody, just didn't take any notice. You know, he'd growl at him and he'd still try and hug him. And then he'd snap at him and he'd still try and hug him. And eventually the dog just went, okay. And, you know, Cody changed that dog forever. It was just like Cody wanted to hug that dog so badly. And, you know, he risked a lot that we didn't even know about at the time. But, you know, he risked a lot, but he just did the right things. Yes, I want you to do exactly what Jody is saying. When you journal, I want you to thank her for all the great things she brought into your life. All right? Because if you've attracted one person like that, Steve, you understand you can find another. It won't be the same, it will be different. But there are other people that are not going to go away. But also understand, Steve, that doing nothing to help yourself, all right, is being a victim. Every step you take to help yourself, I went to go and, you know, find grief counseling. You're going to feel a little bit better that you actually did that. It's called an achievement. The greatest way to get out of depression is to build achievement into your life. I want to tell you, that's how I stay out of depression. It's like when I start beating up on myself and getting down on myself, I go, okay, fine. What 3 things am I going to achieve today? And sometimes, Steve, I have to get help doing that. And I have Jody and Lauren as witnesses to that, where I literally will tell them what 3 things I'm going to try and do. And try is a terrible word for me because I don't like try. I'm either going to do it or I'm not. And I want to tell you, when I can achieve 3 things on my list today, I feel better. Yeah, you're numb, honey. I'm just on autopilot now. Gosh, how many of you relate to that one? This is like, I am, you know why? You're in survivor. You're not living, you're surviving. How many of you can remember that feeling? Pat, I know. Yeah, Amy understands that. So the first thing is, would you like us to set you up a little group of new friends that understand what you're going through? So what if you do? That's what I thought, Steve. Okay. So, Steve, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the people who have heard this story, who understand whatever facets of it that you do, and that want to hold your hand and help you take steps towards being a victor, not a victim. I'm going to get them to write to me, and with your permission, I will then give them your email address. Is that okay? Sure, that's fine. That does not sound like that is what I want. All right. You understand? This sure, that's fine is like a victim to me. You know, I really don't know what I want. So, okay, if you say so, that's not where we're at here. I've got a group of people here that want to help, that will be available to you almost 24/7 because they live in different places. Okay, now you have to give me one commitment. You would like that much better. Then we will arrange that. But first, Kerry, Kerry, I need you and Erin, because I know Erin knows this really well. Jody, of course, you'd like to be on that support team, but you guys need to write to me. I need it in writing that you want to help Steve. Kerry and Erin, could you please do me a favor? Could you... Why do I keep forgetting to plug things in? Because I'm just me. Okay. Could you explain to Steve what the difference is between being a support system and sucking somebody dry? All right, you've both had experiences of people that you wanted to help who did nothing but complain or whatever it was. So can you help Kerry by giving her some ground rules around how to do this in a positive way? Now, part of the reason that I would suggest is that your job is to listen, yes, but your job is also to ask the right questions. Do you guys understand that? So what I want Steve to understand is they're going to ask you, if they hear you going, yeah, but I'm feeling so lonely and it's not fair, blah, 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 and they're going, what have you done about that? That's what they're going to ask you. Is that okay with you, Steve? And it's going to drive you insane. But what I want you to understand is they know that that's going to help you feel better. All right. So do you give them permission to ask those difficult questions? And will you still love them? 2 questions. Because one of the things I always say, yes, now listen to this. You see, Kerry said, I set boundaries and stuck to them. And the person got mad and quit talking to me for a while. But totally worth it. It is okay for them to have boundaries, all right? Erin's saying you're going to get really... Actually, why didn't they nuke Erin's message? Because she used the same word. Hi, Jonas. Hang on a second, honey. Yes, you're going to get upset at the beginning, but then it'll make sense to you. Is that okay, Steve? It's okay. But if what they say upsets you, then write back and say, that really upsets me. And they're probably going to write back and go, explain why it upset you. And you're going to want to say, I don't want to explain it, but they're trying to help you work it out. Oh, it's because she's a mod. She's allowed to say what she likes. Yes, and so the thing is that if you end up complaining but not doing, you will probably find that they will hold you accountable for that, Steve. Does that make sense? But it doesn't mean that they don't want... Yeah, you will try. Good. That's the first step. So you're going to have different people. Now, I want to warn you about Jody. It's very important you understand. Jody can very easily become your best friend because she'll forgive you everything. That won't necessarily help you. But you'll love her to bits, as we all do. Everybody needs a Jody on their side. So you guys that want to be on that support team, please write to me, DearMamaSal@gmail.com, and say you want to be Steve's friend. I will know then where to send you. Okay. So, all right. So, so Steve, Oh yeah, I want to give you that heads up because you know you're only allowed to have one Jody in your life. I want to tell you something. I got so angry with a friend of mine this week. Right, something happened, and I was really upset about it. Now, I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm of the opinion if I'm this upset, they need to know. They need to know that this really upset me. And the the interesting thing was that I knew if I told them that I was so upset, I could lose them as a friend. How many of you can relate to that one? The other voice in my head said, if I can't tell them my truth, then they're not a friend. Aaron, you know this one, right? If you can't handle me when I'm more than a little bit upset, then you're a pretend friend, not a friend. And so what I did is I wrote what I had seen happen, and I really recommend that you write it, not that you say it, because it's so easy to put the blame on somebody else when you say it. After I had written it, I sent it to Yvonne to make sure I had not done any blame statements. In other words, I didn't say, you made me angry, right? That's putting the blame. I kept saying, I was sad when I saw this behavior. Right? And then I said, I know that you know that my emotional triggers are this, and I saw this and this and this, which triggered me. Uh, I got triggered when I saw this and this, or other, right? And I kept rewording it until I got it right. And then I explained everything that had happened. And I said, I don't need you to defend this. I don't need you to write back and do anything. I just need to tell you so you understand. I have always been, right, that honest with my friends. And the other thing I said, this is my emotion, therefore it is my stuff, and I need to fix it. All right, I don't need them to change. Does that make sense to anybody? If they choose to change, that's up to them. But I'm only responsible for my behavior. And if I don't apologize for my behavior, then am also questionable. So what I did is when I get upset, I need them to know that. How can you be my friend if you don't understand what upsets me? And how can I be a friend if I pretend that behavior did not upset me? So, to me, but the risk is I could lose you as a friend forever. Well, if I do, that means you weren't really my friend because you only want to be my friend when I'm happy. Does that make sense to anybody? Yes, Amy, I know. I know. There's so many things that we talk about here that I believe we all needed to have been taught. And, to me, it's a really important thing to learn. Which is to know that, and I want to make sure that Steve and Amy and everybody else understands this, that if being you pushes people away, all right, it's not all about the fact that you're the trouble. It's like maybe you don't need those people as your friends. Maybe you need a new set of friends. Does that make sense? I've always said people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And I assure you, when you get to be my age, those friends are much fewer than the ones in my 20s. In my 20s, I had friends everywhere I turned. And I notice as I get older, I've got less and less friends. Why? I'm more selective now. How many of you understand that? See, the thing is, Steve, you managed to be the right person for one person to be your friend. That means you've still got it. You're still there. Doesn't matter how damaged you are. You're still a nice person underneath all of that. Right? That's why I want you to read How to Make Friends and Influence People. And, if you like, I will do a couple of broadcasts around those topics so that we can talk about it and help you guys. The one thing I can tell you, Amy, if you stay inside your house and don't leave it, you will not make friends. You might make some friends here on the internet, but you need real friends and real communication in your life. That's one of the biggest mental health issues we're going to have in the coming decades, is that people rely on the internet alone for their friendships. And that is very dangerous because you're not really interacting in a way that you need to. You see, you need people to upset you, and you need to be able to handle that. I wonder if that makes any sense. You need people to make you laugh, and you need to make other people laugh. Stop being so selfish. Yes, you're going on that wonderful trip to New Orleans. I was so happy to hear that. That's on my bucket list, by the way. Human interaction is vital, whether it upsets you or whether it makes you laugh. I go out and I actually gauge how good my day is. How many people did I make laugh? Now, do you want to hear a story about this, Steve? You're going to love this one, you guys. Because I want Steve to feel the emotion around it. Okay, so you've probably seen that I'm downsizing, and I'm about to buy a dirty great luxury RV. And one of the things that's on my list, one step forward, the step forward was to go and have the park where the RV is, to make an application and find out if they approved me coming into the park. Now, of course, Jody being Jody said, who wouldn't want you in the park? You see, that's Jody. But I don't know what their benchmark is, what they consider to be the right person for the park. So can you understand, Steve, I was a little scared. Maybe they will find me, you know what I mean? But, maybe they will find me arrogant, or maybe they'll see my bitch from hell, and all these sort of things. So you can see that I was a little scared, even though I have no real reason rationally to be scared. So anyway, that stopped me for a whole week. I was so scared they might refuse me at some sort of negative level. So anyway, I decided, okay, I'm going to put my big girl pants on and I'm going to go and apply. So I walked in and I bought I bought an ice cream, because I think I always, that brings out the kid in me, right? Very difficult to take me too seriously when I'm eating an ice cream. Do you understand why I did it, Steve? I wanted them to see that part of me that still enjoys an ice cream. And so I did that, and she said, okay, you're here to pay for the ice cream. I said, no, that's the first part. So I paid for it. She said, what's the second part? I said, I'm thinking about coming here to live. I believe I have to fill out a form and get assessed. I did. Yeah, my inner child's really good. And so she said, that's correct, you do. And she was really serious, right? And I said, okay. So then she brought me the form. And how many of you can see me going this? I said, now that I think about it, bringing my glasses would have been a really good idea. Can you believe I didn't even take my reading glasses with me? But that made me vulnerable. So that was a good thing. That was not an accident. That made me very vulnerable. So I'm sort of feeling, and I could see that she had glasses around her neck, so I knew she could relate. That was important. So I started to fill it out, and she said, "You're going to fill it out right now?" And I said, "Yep. If I take it away, I'll procrastinate. Let me fill it in right now." Do any of you relate to that? So I filled it out, and I filled it out, and at the end of it, it said notes. And I'm going, "What notes?" Is what I'm thinking. So I thought, don't think it, say that. So I said, "Excuse me, I have a question." And she said, "Yeah." I said, "You left this big space here for notes." She said, "Yep." I said, "What sort of notes would you be looking for?" Because you understand, I could have written all sorts of notes, but what ones are they looking for? Okay. And she said, "Well, are you downsizing?" I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Where do you live?" And I told her, and she sort of raised her eyebrows. It's a nice area. And so she said, "What sort of size are you downsizing from?" And I told her, "I'm downsizing from 2,500 square feet." And she said, "Wow." Now she, in her mind, is going 2,500 square feet in that area. This lady is not a bum. Do you understand that? You could see that going. Da, 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 da. In fact, I even thought that she might think that maybe I was going to up the quality. You understand? Anyway, so she said I'd write that in there. Downsizing from 2,500 square feet. I thought, what a weird thing to write. But okay, if that's what she wants. And then I looked at her and I said, "You look like you and I are sort of similar ages." I actually thought she was probably a little younger than I am. No, older, actually. I thought she was a little older than I am. But I thought, yeah, I just worded, that we look like we might be. So I said, "You live here, right?" And she said, "Yes." I said, "What do you like about it?" And the answer I got was fascinating. She said, "Well, it's good community. That, it's a really community-based thing." And I said, "Oh, so the whole place is one big community?" And she said, "Oh, no." And it was the way she said it that just cracked me up inside. No. She said, "I'm part of the creative community." And I said, "Really?" And she said, "Yes, we get together and we, do tips on sewing and knitting." And I said, "And artwork?" And she said, "Well, yes." I said, "So is it important to you?" Hi, Kim. Yeah. So I said, "Would it be important to you to know that I'm an artist? That's what I do now?" She said, "Yeah." And she said, "Well, what I was trying to tell you was that, you know, I'm not in every community here." And I said, "No, no, I get that." How many of you know she was very discerning about who she wanted as a friend, and you could see it. So I said to her, "So do you think that I would fit into the creative community at all?" Because what do I want? I want to make sure that I've got her on my side, right? And she said, "Yep." So I gave her a high five, and she just burst out laughing. And I said, "That's good to know, because I know that you don't suffer fools very easily, do you?" And she said, "No, I don't." I said, "Yeah, well, I got that message." So I said, "You'll be pleased to know that you're right in your judgment of me. I am no fool, regardless of what I look like." She said, "I know that." Anyway, so she took the form, started to take it away from me. I said, "What is your name?" Because I wanted to make sure I could get hold of her again. So I took her name and I said, "Are you here a lot?" She said, "I'm here 24/7. Right. 5 days a week or whatever. So I had, okay, fine. And she told me the name and I made sure that I had written it correctly, which I did. And so then I said, "Oh, by the way, I have one more question." And I did the pathetic thing. And she said, "What's that?" And I said, who gets to approve it?" And she said, "I do." And I said, "Oh." And I said, "Then I have another question." How many of you are laughing now? And I said, "My other question is, How long would that take? And she didn't say anything. She took her pen and wrote across the top of the application, okay. And I went, thank you. And off I went. Now, Jody would say it was the my $1 million smile. But actually, I don't think it was. I had to actually tone that part of me down quite a bit, Jody. I had to actually be somebody that wasn't going to threaten her, which we know I could have done because I am intense, right? Yeah. Okay, so done and done. All right, my job for this week is done. I have applied. So then I immediately wrote to Jerry, who owns Cedar Cottage, and I said, okay, I've done the application and I'm in. They've approved me. So now I know I can take the next step, because there's no point in taking the next step if they're not going to approve me. Do you all understand that? So I needed to get that out of the way so that now I can comfortably take the next step. So what I want to know, Steve, is what is your assignment for this week? We don't want to overload you. So what is your assignment? And Jody's going to write it down to make sure that I follow up on it, because Jody's very good at that. Hello? If you can't remember, you were going to. You're not going to anymore? Think about the wording here, Steve. If I said to you, I was going to go and apply, that's not quite the same, is it? I was going to, but I've got in the... Yes, you are going to. Okay. So if you do nothing else in the whole week, but you do that, do you understand you're going to feel that much better? Is it going to be easy? No. Do you need it? Absolutely. I would also talk to your doctor. And by the way, you don't have to take medication if you don't want to. It's your body. But I would let your doctor know where you're at. You see, your doctor needs to know how to help you. Right? And tell your doctor that you realize that you can't handle this on your own. That's a very good thing to tell a doctor, right? They'll go, good. And that I have started looking into grief counseling. And if you have any other suggestions, I'm willing to hear them. You're not saying you're going to do. I always say that to my doctor. What input would you like to give me? And he'll say, well, I think you should do X, Y, and Z. And I go, I know you do. I'll give that some thought. I'll let you know. And he goes, ah. All right. So how many of you are grateful to Steve for bringing this case study to our attention? How many of you going, wow? How many of you, I went, wow, what courage to talk about it. Yeah. And Amy, why? What was it in her story that you found helpful for you? Because I want Steve to be able to see that although she thinks that she's being a downer, the truth is this is valuable stuff that we all deal with at different times in our lives. You know, we all push people away at different times of our lives. Yes, she told your story. And isn't it funny, Amy, that when you hear somebody else's, it makes a lot more sense? Did you find that? gosh, when you hear her story, you're going, wow. Yes, ma'am. So, so Amy, is there any chance that you would like to do the same thing, which is to start investigating where you can get some help? No pressure here, but because it must be lonely if what's his name? Kim. If Kim is your only friend, you know, yes, but you understand you're trying to expand your friendship level. All right. So you need the question I'm asking you, if you only friend you have is Kim and something happens to Kim, you understand what will happen to your life. All right. So it's important. No, and you know something? That's exactly what Steve said. So get new people around you, but you're going to have to leave the house to find them. Well, Jody says no, because you can find some online. But, if I would really recommend. Yeah. So my thing is this, that you cannot find friends by staying indoors, right? Not real friends. You can find online friends, but when you suddenly get sick, those real friends are not going to be coming to the hospital. I mean, those online friends are not going to be coming to the hospital necessarily. You understand? You need real human beings in your life, some of them. And the way you find them is not by sitting inside your house. You have to get out. One of the reasons I want to go to this community is because it is a community. And if anything happens to me, I think somebody's going to actually help me get to a doctor. Yes, Erin. And let me talk to you. For those of you who don't know Erin is bedridden for a lot of her life, as is Jody in her own way. And Jody's saying, I recommend getting out if at all possible. Absolutely. Oh, Amy, people don't appreciate your choice of religion and have told you that. Well, don't discuss your religion, right? Just don't discuss it. If people say, what religion are you? Say, sorry, I don't discuss that. Yeah, I've actually, something? Is it a Wiccan? Do you know, Amy, one of the most interesting broadcasts I had here, and it happened probably 4 years ago, is we had different five different religions in the room, and one of them was a Satanist. And it was one of the most interesting broadcasts I have ever done, because I refused to let anybody badmouth anybody else, and we asked all the questions we wanted to. So, Amy, that does definitely bring up some emotional stuff for people, right? But that's your religion, right? So you know that 90% of the people can't even be bothered to ask you, what is it about the religion that you enjoy? Which is what we did for the whole of that broadcast. So to me, this is your business. If you want to, go out and curtsy to the moon, or do whatever it is that you want to do, that is your business. All right. And I think one of the things that I recommend is, when you read something like How to Win Friends and Influence People, it will tell you what subjects to keep away from, right? Because that's your business. Now, you can tell us, and I thank you for letting us know, Amy, because that took a lot of courage. You don't have to hide it, but you also don't have to bring it out unless you get asked. And if they say, you know, what religion are you? You can say, well, I'm certainly not Christian and I'd rather not discuss it. It's quite easy. And if they say why, and you know, I'd say, hey, what was it about I'd rather not discuss it you didn't understand? You know, I don't want to get into it. They'll get the message. So to me, you know, Amy, it was like, I am certain there are all sorts of things that I believe very strongly in that upsets people. Yes, Jody is a Catholic and she has friends in all religions and races. Exactly. So, you know, this is like just because you choose. Why is it too late, Amy? It's not too late for the people you haven't met yet. Yeah, and if you live in a small town that is, yeah, I understand that. And, you know, because people don't bother to ask you why, and people don't ask, you know, to bother to find out more about it, right? They just presume that it's a bad thing. Yeah, religion and politics, right? Actually, three: sex, religion, and politics. I heard. So, so what I'm trying to do is, Steve, life is about taking one more step towards where you'd like to go. So that's your business, Amy. Right? If you want to worship the devil, that's your business. It's, you know, really, you got your reasons for doing that. I had somebody in my house who um, was a Wiccan. I think it's a Wiccan, right? And I want to tell you, I had the most interesting evening asking questions because I wanted to know what was it about the religion that she liked, and and you know, I was going, wow, you know, I was fascinated, quite honestly, and it was just like, okay, you know, I still like the person. I don't understand, but I know a lot more than I did. But you know, that doesn't make them a bad person. That makes them, that's their religion. I assure you that every religion has its bad sides. And you know, um, some of the most Christian people I have met are not people who go to church. I can tell you that. Some of the most Christian people, if you talk about Christian, but you know, yeah, it's just like how we choose to worship is our own business, I think. So I want to really make sure that Steve knows that we appreciate the fact that this took a great deal of courage, but also that in her story, we remembered so much of our story. All right. And each one of us had our own little part of the story that she told. And so, what I really wanted you all to imagine for a second, can you imagine what it's like to have all of those bits in one life and during one short space of time? You know, that is considered to be very high on the stress scale all over. And, you know, I need you to know, Steve, that I had a period in my life where I knew about the 5 top stresses in my life. in anybody's life, right? The death of a parent is a high one. Loss or start of a new job, start or loss of a marriage, or a meaningful relationship. And they got these 5 major stresses. Oh, risk of life. And there was another one, and I can't remember. But in one period of my life, Steve, I had all 5 of them hit me. In the space, I lost my mother. I lost a relationship of 2 years, and without closure. Just 1 minute I was in a relationship, the next minute gone. I was in a life-threatening situation. Something happened financially, and I can't remember what the last one was. But anyway, they were 5 majors. And I knew enough about psychology to know that those were 5. Any one of those triggers, I needed help. See, that's the difference, Steve. I knew that with any one of those triggers, because they're one of the top 5, I needed some help, however smart I thought I was. But I was smart enough to write the list down and make an appointment. And I said to my doctor, I need some help. And he said, why? And I said, because of these 5 things have happened. He said, Sal, but you're a really smart, tough cookie. Are you sure you need help? I said, I'd be stupid if I didn't get help. Right? And I said, because I don't care how strong I am, I need to know how to cope with all 5 at the same time. So therefore, I need help. Do you understand that asking for help wasn't a sign of weakness? It was a sign of strength. I was smart enough to know there is no way that I should be handling all of this on my own. I need somebody. And I literally got the appointment, and I got to see the guy, and I just put down the list. And, he started to be, so cavalier and everything else. And he said, why are you here? And I went 1 to 5. Boom, loss of mother, loss of 2-year relationship, financial loss, and I just put the whole lot down one by one. And I knew each one was a major trigger. And he looked at me, he said, over what time period? I said, 2 months. You lost hope in you. Well, we're not going to lose hope in you. So, just, do you want to have hope back, Steve? You see, only you control hope. So do you want to have it back? You must do, otherwise you wouldn't be here. Yeah, of course you do. So that's what we're going to help you with. Just little baby steps each week. So anyway, Steve, I put the list down, and the guy looked at me and he went, over what time period did these things happen? I think it was in 6 weeks that all those things happened to me. And he said, well, now I know why you're sitting in front of me. And I said, good. And, and so he said, but you look like you're really together and you understand this stuff. And I said, I do. So he said, so why did you come? And I said, because I want to make sure I'm not hiding anything. All right? And he said, wow. I said, so that's why I need help. I want to make sure I'm not stuffing anything down. Yeah, Kim's saying, when I talk to a therapist, all of them have told me to put the past behind you and stop being angry and get on with the future. How do I do that if you don't have closure? Wow. And you asked me that with 10 minutes to go. Bottom line, it's not easy. But you do understand that anger turned inwards is depression. I really do think now that whenever I got depressed, I was really angry and I wasn't dealing with it. All right, that's just my view that the same thing as Steve had every right to be angry at God, right? how can you take this person away from me? Well, maybe God needed her more than Steve did, but that's no answer, right? It's still, I'm lonely now. Where's the next one? You didn't put one in my way. I need another one. So I look at it and go that if you read what Kim says, all right, I have been told to put the past behind me. You will never be able to get rid of it, right? It's there. It's your past. So I give you full permission to keep your past. The question is, how much does it dominate your day? Right? And stop being angry. Well, to stop being angry, you have to learn how to forgive. Okay? How many of you found that one out? The only way to stop being angry is to be able to look both sides. And that is the work we're going to be doing tonight. So just so that you know that, Kim, and if you can't make tonight's broadcast, you may want to check in on it later. I want to talk more about having those two sides interact, because you cannot get rid of anger. Yeah, Amy, you and the rest of us, all right, honey? You're not alone. So the way you get rid of anger is you need to be you need to have the ability to see both sides. And that's that cognitive thing I was talking about earlier. All right, you need to be able to be angry and then go, yeah, but you know something, da 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 da. Let's do the Jody. I'm going to call it doing a Jody, right? Because it's Jody's area of expertise. Okay. So even if you can't make it tonight, Amy, know that's what I'm going to be doing tonight. And Kim. All right. So, and you may want to hear that if you're not going to be there. Oh, Steve, that is awesome. Right. I've got to read that out. With your permission, may I read that out, Steve? Because that is such a wonderful thing for you to know. Wow. It's the mirror. If you can see that, you are so far ahead of the game. Okay, Steve said this, and listen up, everybody, because how many of you relate to this one? I'm just realizing that everything I ever told my mom to try and help her is exactly the thing I need to tell myself. She was given to you as a mirror. And you were so busy trying to fix her, you forgot to turn the mirror. How many times have you guys heard me say that? Turn the mirror and see where it applies to you. Because in life, these things that really upset us, really, if you turn the mirror, it's important. So when you're journaling, you may want to write down some of the things you tried to teach her, because she'll feed them back to you in your mind. Okay, let me see if I understand this. Kim is asking, what if it was a person that was making plans to kill you and you found this out? I would be going to the police. I have had somebody threaten my life here, and I took it straight to the police. No, maybe. I mean, it happened on a broadcast. I took a screenshot of it, and I literally finished the broadcast, took the screenshot, printed it on my letterhead, and walked straight to the police station and said, just need you to know that if anything ever happens to me, start here. If something weird happens to me, start here. And I logged it in. I made them log it in because it's really important. If somebody is making plans to kill you, then I'd get a restraining order. Kim, that's a horrible thing to live with. If necessary, I would move. And I know you're saying, well, it's not for her to move. I'm going, if that's the way I get to be safe, I'd move. That's twice I've said that today. It's interesting. 2 times that has come up in this broadcast. Move. I'm listening to that. It's my mirror. Um, so what I'm saying though is, if you can't get away from the if the situation, right? We were talking about Pat's abuser of her daughter. You know, if you can't get away from that, if the person won't stay away from you, then you need to get out of the line of fire. Kim, does that make sense? And no, it's not fair. But it's not about fair. It's about what do you need to do? Because you see, you're only responsible for your behavior, not theirs. So what do you need to do to feel safe again? Get out of Dodge, you know. If right? So that's what I did. I took it to the police, and by the way, I advised the person that they had just threatened my life, and please be aware I am taking this immediately to the police. So I would really recommend you don't do this again or continue, because they know how to find you. Yes, Kim, exactly. And then, Kim, would you like to know what I did after that? Okay. I came home and I let it go. Right? Didn't worry myself sick about it. This is about, it is what it is. That is a sick puppy. And it is what it is. I have done what I can. I cannot control anything else. Right? I just will be a little bit more aware when I'm out, and I will be a little bit more aware generally. Now, this person has subsequently come back 2 or 3 times. They come back quite often when I'm doing December and insult me, right? And say terrible things about me, but I know who it is. And so um, I didn't let the fear control me, no, because that would mean that I would stop broadcasting probably, and those sort of things. And it's like, no, this is a sick person. And I've advised the police that there's a sick person out there, and I know the police won't do anything. But if anything happened to me, they know exactly where to start. And so what I did is I also said, um, you know, if you continue to harass me, you will be speaking to my lawyer. So, you know, to me, this is like, Kim, I had one person, for example, who probably the same person, if I think about it, but you know, who said that my nails were not my own. I had false nails, and I pretended they were my own. Now listen, who has this bad a manicure if you got false nails? You know what I mean? It's like, this one is broken. If they're false, this one would not be broken. It would be fixed. You understand? It's like, and so what I did was I wrote to them and I said, do you understand? I recommend you Google these words: defamation of character. Because you are busy accusing me of lying to my viewers, and that is defamation of my character. So therefore, I need to just warn you to stop doing it, because it's in writing and you've done it publicly in writing. And my lawyer is going to love this. So do me a favor. I recommend highly that you stop saying these wrong things about me, because otherwise it's going to cost you a whole stack of money. And these are my nails. You're just jealous because you don't have them. So you understand. You know who it is? Fine. And is it somebody who lives near it, or is it somebody that you know online? Is it somebody you know in real life, or is it somebody that you know online? It's Jody. All right. The reason I'm saying this is I'm not necessarily proud of what I'm about to tell you. But when I was in my 20s, somebody was harassing me. And I had some pretty influential friends that I knew. And I said, I got this person who's harassing me and it's feeling really uncomfortable. And I wondered if you guys knew how to fix that. You know what I mean? And one was a lawyer and one was a big businessman in some other way. But they just looked at me and they said, do you happen to have this person's address, Sal? And I said, yes. They said, why don't you just leave that quietly on the table when you leave tonight? And I go, okay. And, you know, I'm not quite sure exactly what happened, but from what I could work out, they had a little bit of a visitation from some very interesting looking bikers, went to go and visit this person. And the bikers had been enlisted by the people I had asked for help. And they sent this biker gang around and knocked on the door and said, we understand that you are busy threatening and harassing Sal. And we just want to give you a little message here, but we'd like you to really understand the message, which is stop doing that. Because if we have to come back, we won't be quite as charming as we are today. Do you get the message? And apparently he went, yes. They said, good. And they left. Now, I got a call from the person and said, you sent a biker gang after me? I said, no, I didn't. My friends did. By the way, did you get the message? So, you know, to me, this is like some people you have to hit with a 2x4 before they get the message. All right. Now, was any violence done? None. But did the guy leave me alone? Yep. Pretty intense, Amy, but crystal clear. Yeah, they got the message. So, you know, sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes it's like, you know, I was listening to a horror story this week that Bernice is going through. And, you know, sometimes you have to literally take a step that's not very friendly just to get people to understand you're not joking anymore. This is serious. I'm not asking you, please don't bother me anymore. This is like, keep out of my lane or else these guys are going to come visit you again. And do we have to send Guido the kneecapper out to talk to you? I mean, you know, really, seriously, listen up here. You know, this is like, don't do this. So tonight, just for those of you who are here, tonight I'm going to be doing two things. I'm going to be telling a story that Erin told that's, again, about levels, right, Erin? And it's about levels of how things happened. I'm going to be talking a bit more about what happened to me. And what I want you to see is that life sends us stuff. And if it just sends us one bit of stuff, we're normally okay. If it sends us two, it triggers a bit more. If it sends three, a bit more. Four, a bit more. And you can have times in your life, like Steve has just had and is having, where the overload is just amazing. You need help getting through that. That's not being a weakling. That's being smart. What time tonight? 7 Pacific. And I'm going to call it layers number 2, all right? Because it's the same sort of stuff. Can you see how this was layer upon layer for poor Steve? You know, this was like, what human being could have coped with all this without being depressed? I don't know one. Quite honestly, I don't know one. That was a lot of stuff to take on. And so the other thing is, Steve, good for you by, you know, knowing that you need to take your own time to get out of this. But I do believe that you deserve some help. So if you don't take the meds, make sure you get therapy. And I've said to people, sometimes if you can't get therapy any other way, go to the church and go to the support groups in the church. Doesn't matter what it's for, because they all talk about the same stuff, really. Doesn't matter, Steve, because you can catch it on the replay if you want to hear it or see it, right? That's why I like doing it on YouTube, is because it's there. So big hug, Steve. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Everybody has a way to understand this. The other thing is, for those of you who want to be on Steve's team, please write to me, Steve. I will send you their emails. And then you decide. By the way, when you write to me, make sure you write what your name is on here, so that those names make sense to Steve. All right. Amy, do you need a support team as well? And Kim, anybody who does need a support team, you just need to let us know, and we will, build you a small support team. Yeah, you're just waiting to go on your trip. That's a big step, and that's a big step out of the past into the future. Well done. Wow, that must be painful, Kim. Yeah. So thank you. Yes, you would like a support team, or yeah, we're just going to do that. So everybody, thank you so much for being here. You understand that we cannot support one another if we don't talk about the issues. So for all of you who've written in and given me case studies to work with, thank you so much, because it helps people understand. Sometimes it's just the mirror that they need. Remember what Steve said, oh my gosh, I've just seen that all the things I tried to teach my mom is the stuff I need to be looking at now. You see, that was the mirror. So we all have those aha moments, believe you me. All right, everybody, big hugs. Thank you for your time. I'll see you at 7 Pacific tonight. This is DearMamaSal saying, remember to look after one another, but please, please, please start by looking after yourself. This is DearMamaSal saying, bye-bye for now. Bye.